What's up, everybody? This is our first ever video episode of the FGU Gamescast. I'm Aaron.
I'm Rusty.
I'm Josh.
And we're going to start with a review of Quantum Break. And FGU is a little different from other outlets because we don't all have all the systems. So we kind of have a great thing going where like each of us is kind of an expert in our own field. So I've been the one playing Quantum Break, so I'm going to go over most of the review and kind of just talk with everybody else who hasn't played it, kind of get an outside perspective on how it goes. So we'll just jump right into it. Another disclaimer is I haven't finished it. Some people care about that. Some people don't. I don't care. So there's 5 acts, and I just started Act 4, so I'm about 70% through the game.
You know enough of the game
yes.
to be,
So, first things first is visually, the game's probably the best looking game Xbox One has. It's probably, so far, Uncharted will probably beat it, but so far it's the best looking game of the year. That I've seen, obviously. Okay. Just visually, the motion capture is great because, you know, they have big actors, big names in this game, and everybody's, you know, animations and their faces, it looks like just stunningly real, and that was kind of just eye-popping right off the bat.
Weren't you saying that like it's like connected to like a show or something?
Yep.
Yeah.
Remedy games, they've always done like kind of Easter eggy, like in the original Max Payne you could find TV shows on like random old TVs and stuff like that, and so they've always wanted to like kind of blend in. When Alan Wake came out, they did a little very small mini TV show, kind of Twin Peaks-ish kind of theme of Alan Wake. But
I remember that.
I forgot all about it up until...
It was a very forgettable experience. Alan Wake was.
The game, you thought so?
The game and the TV
it's kind of like a cult hit for people.
I thought it was cool.
Yeah, I really liked it. But the combat was kind of not crazy as good as everybody said it was, but the story was interesting enough. The ending was fucking dumb.
I never beat it either. Like.
The ending was really dumb. But so far, Quantum Break, for me, story-wise, is best Remedy game to date, easily, for me.
Even better than Max Payne.
I think it's paced a little better than Max Payne. You know, Max Payne gets kind of messy in the 60 to 75% way through.
Yeah.
I've never beat Max Payne all the way through.
Yeah. They're pretty good.
They're if you played it like in 2001 when it came out, it was revolutionary.
Yeah.
But,
doesn't really hold the test of time.
2 does.
Yeah, 2 does.
2 does for sure.
Yeah.
2 it like was one of the first games that implemented like real physics in games. So like they would show these tech demos of like Max would shoot a guy and he'd like fall over and like knock shelves off and like really cool stuff like that. And all the guns were really detailed, and the story is really, it's like, you know, a cop noir, really cool cop noir story.
I've seen the movie. If that can translate at all.
Yeah, that really shouldn't, but yeah. But I'll get into the TV episodes in a bit. The right off the bat is it's kind of got a weak intro. You don't have powers yet. Like, you get your powers really quickly.
Okay.
You get a lot of your powers like within the first act.
Oh.
Within the first like hour, you have probably like at least half of your powers.
I always really liked that gaming mechanic where you, at least like halfway through the game, you're like already fully powered. So then
that's exactly what
I really like.
Yeah,
I really like that because Far Cry 3 did that. Where like about halfway through, you were just this nigh unstoppable badass, and you just got to be an unstoppable badass.
And it's funny because I saw a lot of critics saying like that was a con for the game, that basically there wasn't like anything to go. There wasn't any progression after that, and so far it's getting much harder.
Yeah,
they're throwing more guys at you. There's like stations that stop your powers, so you have to actually like play a smart shooter, and then and then you have to like find the console that is shutting your powers off and get that off, and then you can, you know, kind of control the field. But it's without it, it's, you know, it's such a generic cover shooter. You automatically duck into cover, which is cool. It's nice not having to press a button to jump in and out of cover. You know, like a Division or something like that. You know, just slamming down the A button. It's funny how freeing it is to not worry about it. The one semi-weird thing, but didn't really bother me, it looked like it bothered a lot of people, though, was you can't blind fire in cover. You can't, like, stick your arm out and shoot. You have to come out. And that doesn't really bug me because I never thought that mechanic was executed, like, kind of realistically, like it's apparently supposed to be portrayed, you know? In the Division, you just get, your reticle kind of just widens, but you're not looking. But you're shooting and you're killing. You could kill multiple people by not even peeking out of cover.
Red Dead Redemption had a pretty good blind fire.
The Grand Theft Auto, their cover stuff's really well done. Quantum Break's kind of right in the middle with that. It's not, you know, it's not Grand Theft Auto Gears of War, but it's not as bad as like the Division kind of is with movement and stuff, you know. Movement is hit and miss, I'd say. There's some forced platforming areas. It's a linear game, and some people have a problem with that. I really don't. But
I like Halo.
There's some forced platforming areas, and the jumping's kind of strange. It feels kind of heavy, like he's got weights on his feet. But all in all, there are some really cool sequences with the platforming. But in terms of story, I hate to give away much, and it wouldn't really help that much, other than the fact that pacing is just nonstop. It's like it moves really fast. There haven't been any slow points. You know, it's just great from start to finish.
How'd they use his powers to interact with platforming?
So the way it works is a lot of times platforming revolves around what they have is the villain made this time machine, and it fractured the sense of time. So like there are what they call stutters, where time's frozen, and the villain and Shawn Ashmore, your main character, are able to move around through it. And the villain has enemies that, or he has like henchmen that have these special suits that allow them to maneuver through the frozen time stutters. So a lot of the platforming comes from, there's like a time stutter, and there are like shipping crates that are like flipped over, but they're frozen midair.
That's pretty cool.
And so like you have to jump, and then he has a power that lets him reverse or forward time. Like, so you're supposed to get to this platform, but the platform's like old and collapsed, and it lets him, you like hold down Y, and it reconstructs it. And it stays up for like 5-6 seconds, enough time for you to race across. Sometimes you have to combine powers, like you build it up and you gotta use your freeze power. You can throw like a freeze, so it freezes something select, so like you can move it back, freeze it, and that gives you enough time to run across. Or you have like a speed dash where you could just speed across it before it collapses. Stuff like that.
I didn't know if it was like Disarmed or something with the platform where you can just like blink to the platform.
No, not quite, but that's not really too far off. Yeah, I haven't really ran into any platforming stuff that's like really bad, but not really like Uncharted level, you know, impressive, stuff like that. Cat's trying to jump on somebody's lap right now.
Will that bug things? Can I just be like, yes.
No.
Hey!
He's back there.
Anyway, he's just exploring. But after the powers, I kind of went over the shooting of it, but shooting's great. Guns are great. There's a lot of different guns. I didn't think there would be. I kind of just thought there'd be like assault rifle, machine gun, pistol, you know.
Submachine gun.
But there's different types of submachine guns. There's different types of assault rifles. There's like carbines and heavy machine guns and all sorts of different stuff. It's really surprising to me. So combat, I would say, great. Probably as good as since Max Payne. You know, Alan Wake to me was nothing crazy combat-wise, even though they really focused on it. But this, I thought, was a really good third-person shooter in terms of the mechanics. All the powers are really fun to use. They all work super well in combat, and they give you decent enough areas to move around and do all sorts of different combinations of powers and stuff like that. I found myself loving just any dash, like there's a power that lets you, you can kind of just slow time really, really slow and just run. Okay. And it lets you, if you're close enough to an enemy, you hit B and you can do this really cool knockout punch where you jump up on them and just knock them out.
Just do like a Superman
punch.
Punch.
It's really, really cool. I think I've gotten all the powers, if not close to them, and they introduce them in really great ways. Each time it's like kind of a cutscene. Like there's one where you're at the end of a hallway and a guy's just shooting at you, and then it like tells you hold down this to slow time and run, and then you hold it down, and then you can just see the bullets like whizzing by his face and everything.
That's actually really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Which brings me to the next part, which is kind of style, I guess I'd say. Visuals, like I said, it's great, but there's a lot of just amazing effects that I've never seen in it. There's when there's the time stutters, you can look up at the sky and it kind of looks like a broken mirror. It kind of just looked like a glass picture frame and somebody has punched it, and it's really really broken. You know, you can tell everything's really fractured while it's those stutters. And there's the time machine can simulate a black hole, so it has really, really cool like kind of interstellar-y effects when it comes to looking at what the black holes, what it's being created as. So there's 5 acts. At the end of each act, you get to play as the villain, and and it's mainly just kind of exposition, like it's kind of storytelling. And at the end of each act, he gets to make a decision. And so, like at the very beginning, this doesn't really ruin anything. This is in the first hour. At the very beginning, you're at a school or a university, and there's this chick who's like leading a riot against Monarch, which is the corporation, the evil corporation, basically. And you, at the end of the first act, you get a hold of her, and you can decide to use her as like a PR campaign against Sean Ashmore, your main character, or you can wipe out all the witnesses involved in the university incident. So they're like really extreme. Yeah. And it really feels like, wow, that's a really tough choice. Yeah. Because he's able to see into the future. Mm-hmm. So each one has consequences, obviously, so that's why he's like, fuck, which one do I pick? So I found at the end of each act, it was really hard to decide. And it does the telltale thing, where you make a decision, and after you make it, it's like 50% of gamers agreed with you on this or this and that. So that's really cool. And then after the end of the act and you play as him, then the TV episode plays. Okay. The TV episodes are easily Netflix, Hulu quality shows. Yeah, they have really surprisingly good production values in them. My one gripe, but it's also like kind of charming to me about it, is Monarch Solutions. They have this giant orange M logo, and they put on fucking everything. Like it's like this big sinister corporation. It's like on all of their SUVs that are in car chases, and their passenger vans and their helicopters, and there's part of me that thinks that's really strange, and there's part of me that's like, well, it's kind of interesting because they are an evil corporation.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Weyland-Yutani thing from like the Alien franchise.
It is kind of like that. It's on everything, and it shouldn't be, but it is.
I just imagine like him going down to sit on a toilet. There's just a giant animal on the back of it.
Basically, is that. But the actors in it, it's supposed to focus on more of the villain side of the story. You don't have to watch any of the TV episodes. You can skip them. You don't really miss anything in terms of the game out of them. But like, I don't know, why it's like skipping cutscenes in a game. Like, and which people do that, and it's weird. But
how long are each of the episodes?
Just a hair over 20 minutes.
Okay.
So it's kind of, I think that's really nice too. I think there's 4, maybe 5 of them.
I thought it was like gonna be like an hour long.
Yeah, I know.
Time.
No, I think that's nice because and they go through plenty in each one. It gives them plenty of ground to cover. The first one isn't that interesting, but then it really picks up 2, 3. It's heavily focused on the side characters, like the kind of the support beams of what's going on. There's one guy in particular, I forget the actor's name, but he's kind of like one of the main focuses in the TV show, and he kind of works for Monarch, and then he finds out what they're doing is really fucked up, so he kind of like tries to go from the underground and kind of screw things over for them. And he's got like a pregnant wife at home, and it's a really cool thread that the guy who, he's not in the game much, but he's in the show a lot, and he's really good. Overall, the acting is really great.
What time period is it set in? Is it like near future?
And the date of the game is like October 2016. So it's, technically this year, but obviously, fictional setting, kind of sci-fi. It's like a sci-fi show. Okay. Like the Sci-Fi Channel, Yeah. It's about that. Okay. That level of storytelling, I guess.
I can definitely get down with that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm probably gonna like force my brother to buy it.
Yeah. Well, overall, the TV shows are great. I have no complaints about the TV shows. They're interesting. I'd watch them over again because they're meant to be. And your decisions made at the end of each act are supposed to make big changes to the show, and they're kind of just subtle. Because what happens is, now this part I'm going off of what I heard, but since multiple people say it, I assume it's pretty accurate. But there's apparently just one ending instead of multiple endings. And at first I thought that was kind of weird, but the more I think about it, it kind of makes sense because games like Deus Ex, Human Revolution, had like 4 or 5 different endings, and they're all and they're drastically different. And then they have a sequel, and then one of those endings has to actually be canon, So I think that makes sense. Like your decisions, kind of the Mass Effect as well. Like in a way, your choices don't fucking matter, but they kind of do to shape the overall arc of it. That's kind of how it is. It's subtle things you notice in the show and in the game, like that Act 1. If you kill off that girl, she wouldn't be there later on. It's a different person who's so it's like just kind of small things like that. Like it's gonna progress without them, but
it kind of reminds me of when you beat like Daggerfall, Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall. Like there's like 5 different endings. But then in the canonical ending, they just like mashed all of them together. I was like,
kind of nonsensical.
Doesn't really make sense. Elder Scrolls.
Let's see. The TV show is interesting. I think it's one of the most surprising parts about it, to be honest. All the fighting, all the combat's great. The perfect thing I would give to this game is the sound design is phenomenal. Yeah. Sound design is one of those things that you just don't really notice in games that much. But just this year I've finally come used to using headphones out of being in like heavily invested in like multiplayer shooters and stuff, you kind of need them. And so now I just play like most of my games with headphones, and you just notice so much. But Quantum Break's sound design is like just amazing. It's like some of the best I've heard this generation. There's say you're in a a big shootout and you're dashing area to area. Right after your dash, you can aim, and it slows down time, and like every sound slows down. Every real-time sound slows down. So bullets, people yelling, everything, that you can hear it slowing down. And then when you're out of that like kind of focus, the sound it fades back in really, really well. And the music's playing and it slows down, and like you can, when you there's a time shield, you just throw a big like bubble around you, and it makes bullets just kind of like steer away from you. Then it turns everything like really muffled. So it's really, really clever, and all the guns sound super realistic, like just great gun sound effects. Another really random thing is the footsteps are like so realistic. You'll be like walking in a train yard, and it sounds like he's walking on grass, and then like to gravel, and then to metal, and you can just hear those like really, really like just realistic. That attention to detail is awesome. There's speaking of attention to detail, with going back to the visuals, there's this other part I forgot to mention. You go to this abandoned swimming pool at one time, and there's this like semi-deflated beach ball, and like you move the beach ball around, and it like shapes, like a deflated beach ball does. And I was just like, just those little things like that, I noticed that attention to detail is really, really impressive in that game. It kind of needs to be, because it's really linear,
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, I don't remember, like, before, like, the PS4 and the Xbox One came out, they were, like, showing for, like, the new, I think it was, like, the new Unreal Engine and the new Frost Engine, but they were showing, like, a whole bunch of, like, summoners summon Bahamut from Final Fantasy and stuff. I was like, that looks real. That looks, like, hyper intensely real.
Yeah.
And like I've been kind of like waiting for a game to like show all those like little polishes.
Quantum Break gets really close to that. There's some realistic looking stuff in there. In terms of gripes, it's too short. There's no multiplayer. There's no there's a harder difficulty to play on, and there's without a doubt reason to go back. There's a lot of like collectibles. People are finding like emails that you can like find people's email on their computers, like in the game. And cool. There's like really crazy ones. Like one is a guy who works in the company is emailing this girl, but he like hates their boss, and so he writes a screenplay about them, but he's like in love with the girl, and he writes a screenplay about like killing the boss and like saving the girl, and it's like a 15-page like act one screenplay, and you can find like the whole thing in the game. So there's definitely like reason to go back and find collectibles and stuff like that. But I don't know, maybe if there was any chance that it could have been a couple 3-4 hours longer, that would have been nice. But there's still enough variation with each area that it's definitely replayable. It's a little too short for my liking. Just little things like the forced platforming, just kind of funky stuff with the combat, but that's really not that much of a gripe. It's kind of buggy at times. There were some points, there were like flashbacks or flash forwards where it kind of like shows images of what the future would be like if you make this decision, and it would like go to a next part and there would be nothing there, and then the characters would just pop in sometimes. And so it's like stuff that doesn't really take you out of the experience, but overall, I don't know, kind of a little critical. I don't know. I didn't have that many problems with it so far. The main thing is, in terms of like a review, like recommending a game like this is really hard, because it's not a Fallout or a Call of Duty, you know, where like a game that has all these different modes that's going to appeal to somebody, is all these different things that somebody's going to really enjoy, you know. It's like if you don't like third-person action story-based shooters, then you're probably in the wrong place.
Yeah.
But if you are like me, it just came at a great time. I was just really in the mood for like a solo, like a story-driven game, you know, something that I just, because I've been playing multiplayer stuff for the last couple months, you know.
Yeah.
Heavily focused on that, and this is a nice change of pace. So we don't give out scores for our reviews, so we're kind of just gonna base things off like buy, rent, sale, whatever. I would say if you're an Xbox owner and you want a new IP, and you know you're a fan of anything like Uncharted, you know, people hate comparing stuff like that, but like, fuck off, they're kind of similar. Yeah. If you're looking for that kind of action, story-driven IP exclusive to, you know, not other consoles like Xbox and PC, I would buy this for sure.
Okay.
You also get Alan Wake and all its DLC if you buy it, which is nice, which is cool.
Okay.
We were just kind of talking shit about it. That's a pretty sweet deal.
It's pretty. Yeah.
And so because I'm kind of that Xbox owner that, like, I want a reason to know why I have an Xbox, and this is a good reason to have an Xbox. It's not a game that you buy an Xbox for. It's not a game that you're waiting years and years to play. But if it's April and you're dying for a story-driven game that you're not going to get for quite some time, like, I would highly recommend buying it. I think it's different enough. I think it's exciting enough. It's doing a lot of different things. It's got my seal of approval for a buy.
Honestly, like I would compare this game this the way you put it, like to like a Metal Gear game, like an older Metal Gear game.
Yes and no. Obviously, they're like mechanically different, but structurally kind of similar. It's like new areas, and then it's like, how are you going to get through this next area? And it's heavily story focused. There's a lot of cutscenes. There's a lot of story going on. Yeah,
when you were saying those, like as I've said before multiple times, like I'm a big Metal Gear fan. It's like when you were saying the TV episodes were like only 20 minutes long. I'm just like, oh, it's like kind of wanting the hour-long cutscenes.
No, thank you.
Yeah. I have a love-hate relationship with that Metal Gear Solid long cutscene sort of thing. Like, 5 was kind of a nice in-between, because the opening was like 3.5 hours long and like 20 minutes of playing, but then the rest of the game was like 10, 15 minutes. But like, man, it's like 3.5 hours before you can fucking do anything in Metal Gear Solid 4. You know what I mean? This is so I kind of like
it's like a whole movie before you start playing.
And The Witcher does a lot of, like, every time you talk to somebody, it's like a cutscene, you know? So I like frequency, just not like length. So, yeah, there you guys go. That's our kind of scrambled review of Quantum Break. So thanks for watching.